Hi, and welcome to Cooking with Unity. So, last week we finished our tower defense game, and this week I'm going to do a little one-off show on random. We've used it a couple times in a few of our scripts, but random elements are very common in video games, and that's what we're going to focus on today. But before I do that, I just wanted to say that we just recently, my company Pushy Pixels just recently released a game, submitted to Apple a game, and I've got links on the right for you to check it out on the web. It's not on iOS yet, but it will be approved probably sometime this week. And show it to you real quick on here. So here it goes. So the game's called Proton Pulse, and it should be coming to the Apple App Store later this week, hopefully, depending on when Apple's done with it. I just want to show it to you guys real quick. And, yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. It's looking good. It runs better frame rate than you're going to see in this video. Yeah, it's just a little 3D breakout game, and it's got 50 levels, boss fights, it's pretty well fleshed out, and we're opening the game up for testing. And so if you're interested in doing a little bit of that, there's information on the right-hand side of the screen right now. And if you submit any bugs or submit feedback, we'll put your name into the credits if you want. Yeah, just breakout game, but it's pretty fun. I enjoy it. Also, it has time slow. Anyway, that's all as much as I'm going to spend on the show on that. Thanks for checking it out and bearing with me on that. So back to random. There's a lot of reasons you'll want to use random in games. I mean, it's what gives a lot of games life. You don't want to use it too often because, depending on the type of game, honestly. But you can use it for a lot of things. You can use it for making levels. You can use it for setting up enemies to go in special patterns. You can use it so that you can, like the game Cannibalt, it's a side-scrolling jumping game, uses it to basically make the whole game, and it's just randomly generated, but within tolerances, so that the game's actually fun to play. So, let's start this off by exploring the different random options we have, and just kind of showing what they do. So, I've got a new project here. I'm just going to create a C# script, and we're going to call it random display. Alright, and we're going to open up in MonoDevelop, use original file. Alright, so random display. What this thing's going to do is we're just going to have a couple of GUI buttons so that you can roll random numbers in various ways, just so you can see how they work. So void on GUI. We're going to use GUI layout because this makes it very easy. Dot label, and we'll just call it, we'll just put 0 in here for now. And then we're going to do GUI layout dot button. What is it called? I guess the button will be called random. We'll actually make it more specific than that. If GUI layout button random, I think this works. we're going to do something. Okay, so random is stored in random. That makes it easy. And we've got a few different options here. We've got random inside unit circle, inside unit sphere, on unit sphere, rotation, seed, value, and range. So we're going to just go with random value right now. GUI layout label. Oh, maybe this won't work. I wanted to change the label. Alright, let me just make a reference to it real quick. Private label GUI.label equal private GUI label, and we need to give it a name. This is not going to work, is it? Wow, starting my show great already. Why didn't I think this through? Let's just try something. Foo. Does that actually make any sense? Foo equals and then foo dot. Alright, I'm gonna have to look some stuff up real quick. Alright, Unity GUI. Okay, so these don't actually return anything. Alright. Let's just see what happens if we do this here. Oh, I know, I'm stupid. Overthinking this very much. So instead of saying label 0, we're going to call it label output string. And then we're going to do private string output string. Let's actually spell that right. Output string. I don't know what was going through my brain earlier. And we'll set this to 0. And then output string equals random value dot to string. This should work. So if all works, we're going to throw this on our camera real quick. Output string does not exist. Oh. So this should give us a little button in the little upper left of the game area. And it did not. Oh, we didn't actually attach it yet. Alright, so we attach this to our camera. It could actually be attached to anything in the scene. This will work. But since the only thing we have in the scene is a camera, and it's not working. And it's in there both times. Is it, oh, capital GUI. That's an easy mistake to make. There we go. So we have this number in the corner here, and that's our little display thing. And if this works right, we click random, and it changes. All right, excellent. This is what I wanted to get set up. So this button here is using random value. So I'm going to actually change that in the thing here so that you can see random value. So what random.value does is it returns a random floating point number, a random float, between 0 and 1.0. And it's generally pretty random, and it just, every time you call it, you get a different number. And it's used for, generally you use it for adjusting things. So like if you wanted a random float between 0 and 100, all you would do is take this value and multiply it by 100, and you'll get a random between 0 and 100. It's really useful for doing basic random stuff. So let's make another button. I'm just going to copy this. And this one we're going to do, what is some of the other random stuff we can do? Random dot range. This is another important one. So we're going to do random range, and this one takes two things. So we can do 0 and 100. So this is kind of similar to what I said earlier, although this will return integers only, and you'll see that in a second here. So random dot range. I'm just going to show what it actually is so that you can use this as a reference. So we hit play again. Oh, and we need that toString. So now you have random value, which is 0 to 1. Random range is between the first number and the last number, but it does not include the last number. So this can never actually get 100. This will be between 0 and 99. And primarily, this is used to choose a random element of an array. The reason it's set up so that the first number is included and the last number is not is because that's the way arrays are set up. If you have an array that's 100 large, its elements 0 to 99. So you can just do random range and then feed in 0 and then the length of whatever you're iterating on, and it will give you one random element in that list. I'll show you how to do that later, but that's the primary use for it. You can also use it for getting a number, though you could also just use random value and then cast to an int after multiplying what you want. There's a few different ways to do these things. So let's see. We're going to need another output string for this. So I'm going to make a few of these. GUI layout. I'm just going to copy this. So we're just going to do a few more variables, 1 and 2. So the reason I'm doing that is because the next ones are actually return vectors. So I'm just going to break up their components so you can get an idea of how they're working. So we want random dot inside unit sphere. Copy that in here. And that won't exactly work, so we need dot x. Let me copy this a couple more times. 1 and 2. Y and Z. Can you hear me okay? I'm coming in kind of quiet on my end. So let's copy this one more time. And we'll do random inside unit sphere. Oh, whoops. Circle. And I think there's one more called on unit circle. But let's double check that. On unit sphere. Okay, on a unit sphere. They don't have I guess I can just copy and paste this real quick. All right, so we're gonna have a few different more buttons here and more outputs. Vector 2. Oh, okay. So we don't need this line here. So random value just changes the first one because there's only one thing that it returns. All of them return one thing, but these ones return structs that contain 3 floating point values. Random range gives us the range. Inside unit circle, this one actually does all 3. Inside unit sphere means it gives you a vector that is somewhere inside of a sphere that is 1 unit in diameter. I think. It might be 1 unit in radius. I think it's 1 unit in diameter. Yeah, it makes sense to be it that way. And so what that allows you to do is get some spatial data out of things. We're actually going to use these in more exciting ways than just printing them on the screen here, but I just wanted you to get an idea of how this stuff works. Because it's just numbers. That's all it does. This gives you the numbers that you want out of random stuff. Inside unit circle is 2-dimensional. It just was going to update the top 2 values here because it's just X and Y. But this is just like inside unit sphere, but inside a 2-dimensional circle. It's just some position, basically, in a 2D unit circle. And then on unit sphere is a special case of inside unit sphere. It's just vectors that are magnitude 0.5. Basically, they are just on the outside of the sphere. You will get no values that are inside of it. And I'm probably going to have a very difficult time of actually finding a good use for that in our little presentation today, although I'm sure there are several. We'll probably find something fun to do with it, but it's going to be the most challenging one. And then and that's it. So they just work like that. And when you call them, you just get the value, and you can assign it to things. And I just realized this actually is not going to be outputting properly. Let me actually change this. What I did is wrong here. The reason I did is because on these ones we're actually calling random 3 times, and we only wanted to be calling it once. So those values we're getting are not exactly as I described. Let me do that real quick. So vector 3 random equals and then we just want call vector. So this will actually only call the random once, so this will actually output properly. Sorry, I had this wrong before. I'm glad I thought about it for a second. So we're just gonna do this and this, and this one's a vector 2. Actually, I'm going to put this up for organizational sake. And then finally, this one. And this is going to give us a compile error, but I'm going to look at it real quick anyway. Maybe it won't. It's going to make a liar out of me. All right, here we go. So now random inside unit circle. That's working, I think. Inside unit sphere. It's hard to see these in a case where they're not working. So it looks like it has a radius of 1, not a diameter of 1. I had that wrong. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. So yeah, so these are the different ways you can use random. Now, one thing I didn't go into is random seed. So random. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the way computer random stuff works. Random stuff on computers is actually a misnomer. There is no such thing as true random when a computer is generating it. It's actually feeding some numbers through a very large, complicated equation that's designed to give the feeling of randomness, but it is actually not random. The seed is a value that's used in the random system itself. In Unity, it automatically seeds random for you. And what I mean by that is, when the program starts, you'll get a new random seed. As a matter of fact, I can show this off right now. I'm just going to, on start, set one of these to display the seed. So we'll just do output string 1. Output, can't type tonight, equals random.seed. So this should give us a random value at the start, but it'll be an integer. You'll see it in a second here. Dot toString. Can't put a integer into a string unless you use toString. It converts it for you. So when we hit play, we get some number here, some big old integer number. And if we hit play again, we get a different, wait, no, we get the same. Okay, so I'm not sure when it does. Maybe it doesn't actually seed that for you. I thought it did. Maybe it's when you start the editor or something. But basically, this is the seed is useful because if you want something to be random, but then also want to be able to repeat the thing that you had random before, you can use the seed to do that. And what I mean by that is, when you have a seed, when you first use random, if it's the exact same seed, you will get the same value the first time you use it, and you will get the same value, a different value from the first value, hopefully, but it will be the same value on multiple playthroughs the next time you use it as well. And so, if you have a game that generates a world at the start, you could have it show you the seed or save the seed somewhere so that you could get the same world multiple times. And I'm going to try and show that on this episode. I'm not sure if I'm going to succeed, but I just am throwing that out there as you can use it in that way. The other place that this can be useful is in multiplayer. You can use seeds so that you don't have to share information. So if both of the games are doing the same number of random calculations, you can just sync the seed at the start of the game and then just have them both roll random, and it will give the same values on either side, assuming that you call them in the same way. Which is what you really want to do if you're doing a multiplayer game and you have random elements that need to stay synced. It's best to do it that way rather than sending the random data across the wire. So, we're done with this script, basically. This is just to show how stuff works in the basic sense. So let's actually do some examples. Let's have some fun with this. So I'm going to create a cube, and let's go ahead and duplicate the cube a few times. Where is my camera? Where's my camera pointed? Where did these cubes get made? Alright. Alright, now that we have these cubes, I'm just going to select all of them, duplicate them, do this a few more times. So now we have a lot of cubes. We'll hit play, and we'll do some lighting. And I'm going to turn off this script real quick so you don't see the random display stuff. We're not going to be using it. We're going to create a real quick directional light because it's easy to work with. We're done. That's it right there. Alright, so we've got a bunch of cubes. We can make these cubes random heights. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to create a new C# script called random size. Random height. Let's do that. Hope I spelled that right. So I'm going to go ahead and tag these cubes as something. We're going to just go into tag, add tag. We're going to call them cubes. Or just cube, I guess. Because I didn't type an S for some reason, even though I really intended to. So cube. Those are all cubes. And we're just going to have this thing look for cubes and make them randomly resized vertically. So we're going to do a public max height equals, we'll do 100, even though that's probably excessive. Actually, let's just do 10.0f. And this actually needs a type, so float. So what we'll do is just at the start here, we're going to, let's just start with this. In the start, we're going to game object dot find game objects with tag cube. So for each, so this returns a list of all of our cubes, and we're gonna iterate over it using the for each loop here. So game object find. Why is this still angry at me? Oh, sorry. I have to do the full statement. Game object cube in. So on each of our cubes, we're going to cube.scale. Cube.transform.scale. Do local scale. Equals new vector 3 1 comma random dot value times max height and 1. So if we put this on any object in the scene, I'm just going to put it on our camera again. Oh, I did it very quickly. So that happened immediately. That's kind of cool. We're going to actually put it on the main camera here. So when we hit play, we get this configuration of cube not defined. Thought it was. Oh, we must have defined it in play mode. Dang it. Alright, so yeah, let's do this again. Add tag, cube. We're not in play mode. That's good. We grab all our cubes. We tag them as cube, and we hit play again. So we get these cool little towers. And I'm curious, if we do this again, do we get the same towers? No, it looks like they're a little different. So it is doing something different each time. So you can see that it's made them random heights. And already that's kind of cool. Like we've got something that looks more interesting than what we started with just by throwing some random numbers in there. And we can let's see if we can set a seed so I can show you the seed thing that I was talking about. So let's do public int seed. So we'll just do random.seed equals seed. And we'll set this to 0. So when we hit play, now hopefully we'll get the same configuration each time. So this one's kind of small. Got a little medium, small, large. Let's see if we get the same type of thing. Yep, same configuration each time. So now we can actually adjust the seed, and we'll get a different configuration each time, but it will be consistent. So if this was our level for some reason, we could use this as a generation seed, and you could save this. So like if you say you were making a game where it's an RPG or something, and you randomly generate the world, but when the player saves the game, you want to get the same world. You don't want them to be in some random new world. You could save out that seed and then regenerate the world using that seed when the player starts the game, and then place everything and do all the changes you want after that. And so that's the usefulness of random not actually being truly random. Let's actually change this script slightly so I can actually show you in real time this concept real quick. So I'm going to actually move this into the update loop. Actually, I guess I could have moved this too. And so each frame, this will give us, it's actually changing each frame. So now, if I change the seed, you can see it changing. So yeah, so if seed 3 looks like this, seed 4 looks like this, seed 0 looks like, we keep going back to seed 0. And so we have this information here that is implicit to the seeding value. Now, if I was to remove one line from this, because this is setting the seed, resetting the seed each time that it goes into there, this would actually just give us these randomly moving objects every frame that they're going to change. So yeah, so we get this kind of weird, almost a visualizer looking thing. It's just random data though. So I mean, already you can see how you can have a lot of fun with random elements in Unity, and in any game for that matter. So this is an example that uses the value, random value, which, as I said, returns between 0 and 1, a floating point value, and so you can just multiply in things. So if we go back in, here I'm going to put this back to random seed equals seed. So we can go back in here and adjust our max height, and you'll see the relative height of everything change. It just scales the whole thing up. And that's because these numbers are exactly the same each time, the random number that you're getting. And it's somewhere between 0 and 1. And when you multiply in the max height, you get the actual final value that we're using for these things. And that just basically scales the random value. And you can even go negative, it looks like. So, and so the seed determines the configuration, and then the max height determines the largest that the object can be. If we actually set this to 0, we shouldn't see anything, or very little at least. But as soon as you go to like 0.1, you'll see tiny variations in things, and 1.0 will give you the largest it can be is a unit cube, and then the smallest it can be is 0 high. So let's try a different type of random. So we can do a random. Let's do random on unit sphere, because I said I was going to have trouble using that one, but I think it'll look cool here. So let's go ahead and duplicate our random height thing, and we're going to do random position on sphere. I'm going to double click this, and we're going to get random position on sphere. We need to make sure this is called the same thing, or Unity will get mad at us. And this one we're not going to use a max height, but we'll do sphere size. We're going to start at 1. Actually, let's do 10 again. And this time we're going to do cube.transform.position equals random. So this one we had to create a vector because we were actually just changing one value based on random dot value. This time we're actually we're getting the vector from random dot on unit sphere. And let's see. Random on unit sphere. That's all we need. Oh yeah, times sphere size. So in one of our previous episodes, I know we've done this. In several of our episodes, we've done this. Vectors can be scaled by a float, and all it does is it changes how spread out they are. So on this one, this should mean that we'll get a more sphere-like pattern, or a bigger sphere that the objects are now moved into. And I'm just going to get rid of this line because we don't need it. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the random height thing and put on random position on sphere. So again, this is affecting all of our cubes in the scene. So that looks, can we see the sphere there? Yeah. You can see kind of how there is a sphere pattern here. This is what you get when you do random on sphere. You get stuff that's just on where the outside of the sphere is. And if we change the seed, you'll see that the position's changed. And if we change it fast enough, you can kind of get the whole sphere impression out of it. And the sphere size adjusts, as I said, how big the sphere is. So this is not distributed or anything. This is not a good way of making a sphere out of cubes, but it is it does visually show what this is doing nicely. So this just gives us the outside edge. We're going to do another one here. It's going to be in sphere. And we're going to open this up. That's not what I clicked on. Well, I mean, it is what I clicked on, but it's not what I wanted to click on. In sphere. And then all we have to do is change inside right there. So what this one does, it will probably not look as organized. So we're gonna get rid of this and put on in sphere. So this one should be any position within that sphere. So it's not gonna give us quite as defined an area. Like you can see all the cubes inside there, and it looks kind of like a mess. Again, the sphere size determines how far apart everything is. And we've used this before, I think, when doing our explosions. We basically set the positions randomly within a small area, and then we have an explosion force in the center to send them flying. And you can see how it already kind of looks like an explosion because you've got basically just mass distributed in different ways, and the stuff on the outside explodes faster than stuff on the inside. And again, our seed will adjust randomly. Well, I mean, not randomly, but as random is, so that you can get different configurations that are consistent. And that's how that one works. Let's see, what else do we have here? We did random range. All right. Inside unit circle is the same thing as inside unit sphere, just in 2-dimension. I'm not going to bother going into it, but it's the same concept. Just you get two values, a vector 2 rather than a vector 3. So let's do random range. So I'm going to create a new script called spawn random thingy. And this is the primary use for for random range, as I said, is for getting at an array. So we're going to set this one up a little differently than the ones we've been setting up, and we're not going to set it. Well, yeah, maybe we'll still work on all the cubes that we have. Yeah, that'll be fun enough. So, let's not call it spawn random thingy if we're not spawning anything. So let's call it random object. So here we go. I should have copied over our existing stuff. Well, I'll just do this anyway. Alright, so in this one we're going to just have a public game object array called object. Actually, let's call it thingies. And that would have, we'll just call this random object. And this time we're going to, see, how do we replace the game object? That doesn't make any sense. Let's actually make it a public, what do you use? Meshes? Is that what it is? Render dot mesh? No. Mesh. What's it called on the objects? It's called mesh filter. Mesh filter. Alright, we're going to go back to spawning it. This thing's just be a random object spawner that spawns out of thingies. So we're not going to adjust the C this time. Let's do let's just make it spawn stuff. So instantiate thingy, and then we use random dot range 0, comma thingies dot length. And let's actually transform, put in transform dot position and transform dot what is it called? Dot rotation. And to make this actually work a little bit better, we're going to have a timer on it. So let's instead do start coroutine. No, invoke repeating. This will just make this thing run every time. Void spawn thingy. Just put this in here. We don't need anything in the update loop, and we do invoke repeating spawn thingy, and it uses a string, so we need to actually put quotes around that, and time and repeat rate. So we're going to do public float spawn delay equals 1.0f. We'll just do 1 second to start. Actually, we'll have the first one spawn immediately. So this should give us a random object in whatever we set in thingy. So we're going to make some objects real quick. And this time we're going to, let's put a plane in here. And 0, 0, 0. Make it bigger. 10, 10, 10. Actually, we'll leave this at 1. And let's move all our cubes up on top of it slightly so that we can still see them. So if we hit play real quick, how does this look? Oh, yeah, our cubes are being reorganized again. So let's just move them up anyway. All of them are going to move to the center of the world anyway. We didn't actually set the position, so they go to 0, 0, 0. That's fine. So let's actually just delete these cubes. We don't need them anymore. Let's disable these cubes. We may need them later. Even better. So we're going to create a new object, just a empty game object. And we're going to put it, I'm going to call this the spawner. And we're going to put it 0, 0, 0 so we can see where it's at. And where is it at? Okay, there it is. So we're just going to put it up in the air. And we're going to attach this random object script to it. And we need some thingies, so let's make some thingies. Let's create a cube. Oh, we already have a bunch of cubes. They're still enabled. Let's create one more cube. We're going to just create a prefab for it, delete it, create a sphere, make a prefab out of it, delete it, and create a capsule, make a prefab out of it, delete it, and well, we can adjust those later. And let's do a cylinder as well, and make a prefab out of it, and delete it. Try to drag that to the trash for some reason. Alright, so, and let's give all of these things a rigid body. Component, physics, rigid body. This will make them fall via gravity and fall around and stuff, and so this should be pretty fun. Now our spawner has spawn object, it has a spawn delay of 1, and we need to give it some thingies. So if we just put a cube in here, this will work. It'll just spawn a cube every second. So let's see if that works. And actually, let's change that script. I always forget how this thing works entirely. So we do want spawn delay in both cases. Alright, so we hit play, and we start getting cubes. And actually, while it's playing, I can adjust this. So there's our cubes. It just spawns them in place and drops them in, so they start kind of intersecting after a while. Now, if I was to add a cylinder to thingies, we'll start seeing cylinders randomly, I think. Okay, maybe not. Probably because we're doing it while it's running. Alright, so let's add a cylinder to it. Do the second thing. And we should get cubes and cylinders. And it won't just be a cube and then a cylinder, it'll sometimes be a cube and sometimes be a cylinder. Except for it's not doing that. So obviously I have something wrong with my script. Unless our cylinder is actually a cube. No, it's a cylinder. Let's try putting one more in. Maybe we'll get a result out of that. Let's do a capsule as well. Whoops. Spawner. Capsule. So if we just get cubes and cylinders, we'll know that I'm 1 off on my math. There we go. There's a cylinder. There's a lot of cylinders. Huh. Let's see what I did wrong. So random range thingies dot length. 0 and thingies dot length. That should be it. That's not terribly complex. Oh, I know the problem. So we have this random position and sphere script. Every frame, it is setting our. So this is where you can get bitten in the butt, and I'm actually really happy this happened. So we're not getting very random stuff. We're getting kind of the same thing each time, and the reason we are is because we're doing the random position on sphere, and it's setting the seed every frame. So the seed is a global value. It's not per object. And so you shouldn't be setting it willy-nilly, and you definitely shouldn't be setting it every frame in most cases. The only reason we did that was for illustration purposes, so you could easily see the update. So I'm going to disable this script, and this should start working now. Actually, I'm just going to remove it entirely. And now we should see random stuff. So cylinder, cylinder, cylinder. Alright, something that's not a cylinder. Alright, so there we're getting random things. And they're all rolling and stuff. I love physics. So, you need to make a random Tetris game with just objects sliding into place. Capsules, we didn't do it with spheres, so let's add a sphere to our spawner. I'm curious if this actually allows me to adjust it in real time now. It probably will. So if we do just size 1, we'll just get cubes from now on. Yeah. And then as we add things, we'll get other things randomly. Let's stop this and go back to what we had. And let's, for fun, just click on our spawner and change the rate at which it's spawning. Come on, guys. That's the one problem with spawning things, is it keeps changing the list. Let's make it 0.1, so these things just spawn like crazy. Yeah! Junk! But yeah, so this gives us an example of using random range. As I said, you can use it just if you need a number, but remember that the second number you give it to, the second number you give to it, you subtract 1 from that, and that's the actual max random that you will get. So I just love computers that they can just handle doing this stuff. I'm probably dropping frames like mad. So yeah, that's all of them except for unit circle. As I said, it's a subset of unit sphere, and it's not terribly useful. Actually, since we have 7 minutes left, I want to show you one of the things that you might not think to use random for, but it's really good for. If you want to create a camera shake, it's very easy to do this with random. So I'm going to just create a quick little C# script called camera shake. And what this will do is we'll attach it to our camera, and it's just going to shake it continuously. So we're going to have it have public vector 3 original position. So at start we original position equals transform dot position. Now in the update loop, all we do, and let's have a variable in here, public float intensity. Did I spell that right? I sometimes wonder about these things because I just kind of go with it, and yeah, works. Oh, and there's a physical thing for it. So intensity. So all we do is we're going to change the transform dot position equals original position plus random dot inside unit circle, no, inside unit sphere, what else, times intensity. I'm going to put it in brackets even though it's implied with this order, but I just want to make sure that we're doing it that way. So now if we attach this to our camera, we will get very sick very quickly, especially with whatever the default values I got are. Actually, it's probably going to do nothing. Yeah, it does nothing. So the reason it does nothing is because we didn't set a default value for intensity, so I'm going to do 1.0 F, even though that's ridiculous. And we're going to actually set it here because that doesn't just immediately do anything. Oh, and we need an equals. Alright, so if we hit play, we're going to get sick. And this may not show up very well in the video because of my frame rate, but you'll see that things are just shaking violently. And yeah, so that's working. We can adjust the intensity in real time here to get something that's less ridiculous. But yeah, so now it looks like we have an earthquake that's generating a whole bunch of... It's amazing how much that adds to this whole scene, actually. Just this violent shaking as the world is filled with random junk. But yeah, it shows another little example of what you might use random for. And let me just go over the script real quick. It's very simple, but I just want you to understand what's going on here. So the reason I'm doing the original position is if we don't use original position in this equation, I'm just going to delete this right now. If we just have the random, it will actually walk off into nowhere. I'm going to set this to a kind of a low value so you can see it happen rather than it just happening. So you'll see that the camera will start moving position. Okay, that's probably not the best example. Let's set it higher. Does the camera have collision? No. I'm not using the position. Huh. I would have expected that to walk way off into nowhere. That's what I had happen last time I had to deal with this. Oh. Oh, that's right. Huh. Okay. So this was just... So what it does is, and the reason that changed it is because I was thinking of a different problem. If we did plus equals here, we'll get the crazy problem that I was thinking that we were going to get. The reason we have to have the original position is otherwise we end up in a situation where it repositions the camera at 0, 0. And so if we put in our original position, it makes it so that it's actually from where the camera is currently at. That's the only reason we're using it. So this will actually give us where the camera is currently at. Yeah. So as opposed to being in 0 to 1 range and all these things, it's at its base position, but then adding the random. And yeah, I think that's it for tonight. Sorry that it's not a new project. I know that you guys love projects, but and I love projects too. But I just wanted to get some basic information out there. I like to do these occasionally to break things up, and I hope that you guys got some information that will be helpful to you. And I will, of course, be putting this project up as usual, so that you can check it out. Let me save the scene, which I should have done hours ago. Well, minutes ago at least. Less than an hour ago. Save as test scene. And I'm going to put up the email address. Go ahead and give me an email with feedback or... let's see if this works this time. All right. Yeah, give me an email at pushypixels@pushypixels.com, and I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and you have a good night.